Welcome to the Wellness Revolution Podcast, the radio show all about wellness in your mind, body, spirit, personal growth, sex, and relationships. Stay tuned for weekly interviews featuring guests that have achieved physical, mental, and spiritual health in their lives. If you'd like to have access to our entire back catalog, visit drveronica.com for instant access. And here is your host, Dr. Veronica.
This is Dr. Veronica, and you are listening to Wellness for the Real World. I'm Dr. Veronica Anderson. I'm a medical doctor and medical intuitive. You're going to find out more about that as you listen on. But today, I want to welcome some interesting people. I'm not going to tell you about them until right before because, I got to keep you listening here. But we're going to talk about all matters of health, your life, your world, and your purpose. And why do we do this? We do this because in order for you to have a happy and fulfilling life and to be well physically and emotionally, you have to understand what you're not being told. And so here we are on Wellness for the Real World because the truth shall set you free and the truth heals. I'm here. I have my co-host, Russell Cook. Russell, how are you today?
Life is good, Veronica. How's everything there with you?
Everything's fabulous. And, well, life is not as fabulous as we like it to be for you. I know you're there nursing your father all the way over there in Ohio. And how's he doing?
He's doing much, much better. He had a nasty fall, and we thought we were going to lose him for sure. But he's made an amazing comeback. He is a tough old buzzard, I'll tell you.
And how old is he now? He's 94, I think?
94.
94, yep. Yeah. So we've all been going through some issues with our parents. I got to just, my father has been hospitalized for over 4 weeks. We've been concerned about some memory loss, and there's been some back and forth about what is the best solution for his living at this point in time. And my father is an electrical engineer and was at one point the chairman of IEEE. And so very, very bright man, learned, was a great dad. And now it's, okay, how do we figure out what we're supposed to do next? And it's just been difficult. So I understand, and I know a lot of us understand about dealing with our parents, our children, all that other type of stuff. But in the meantime, we have to deal with our own lives. And this is where it gets really sticky and difficult because you got stress and on your body, on your life. And you want to say, well, it's time for me to do. It's time for me to live. But how do I know what exactly it is that I'm here and I'm supposed to do? So I'm segueing into my next guest because one of the reasons I'm here and actually telling you as an audience that I'm a medical intuitive. Yes, I'm an eye surgeon by training, but I'm also clairvoyant, claircognizant, and all those other things. I can see into past lives, my own, other people's. I'm telling this to you because this particular lady gave me the courage to actually talk about it. Jayne Sanders, and her name is spelled Jayne. Jayne Sanders is a scientific hand analyst. And you say, what is a scientific hand analyst? It's not the same as a palm reader, but it is almost kind of the same as a palm reader. But she's going to explain the difference to you. And I know, Russell, you're going to be chomping at the bit to ask questions about this. And I want people, yes, this is very exciting stuff. It's cutting edge stuff. And it's actually, when we say scientific, it's scientific. So let me just set this up. In late 2012, it was December 2012, I go to this entrepreneurial conference out in Las Vegas. We're meeting a lot of people. Some of the people that I knew were sitting down at the table to eat. And there was this lady there sitting at the table with these handprints in front of her. And I said, oh, what are you doing? And she says, oh, I take handprints and I do an analysis on them. And I tell you about what your life purpose is and your life path based on what are the markings in your hands. And I said, oh, That sounds cool, really interesting. Now, I'm sitting at the table also with another lady who's very psychic and another lady who does some metaphysical work. And, we're all metaphysical, except I'm the person at the table who's not admitting it yet. Although I got called out by the woman there who was psychic at that same meeting. So I meet Jayne at that time. I didn't know who she was, her name. I do my handprint. She said, let me just, I'll do a mini and tell you exactly what I see. She tells me a few things and says, oh, wow, you have some markings that, I don't see a whole lot. And then about a month later, we get on the phone after she does the full analysis. We get on the phone and she proceeds to tell me about what is in my hands. And it was so stunningly accurate about me that that this is not something that you can Google about me. These are not traits that you can go and look up and say, oh, she went to this school and that school and she does this, that, and the other thing. We are not talking about that. We're talking about core, the way I was made. We're talking about my soul journey through time, my journey from where I started to where I am now. And I'm not just talking about this life, because a lot of these markings you come into your life with. Some of them can change, but you come into your life with. And so it's telling you, here is what you are here for. And so Jayne proceeded to tell me, Veronica, you have, I believe it is 8 gift markings in your hand, and only a certain percentage, a small percentage of the population has any gift markings in their hand. Doesn't mean it's bad if you don't have any, but you have several of them, which means that you're really set up high to do this. Now, let me just say this. Parents get all up in arms when their kids are not in the gifted and talented program. Oh my gosh, you're not in the special class with the people so that the parent can brag about who their kid is and what they did. Well, this gave a new meaning to gifted. Really, seriously gave a new meaning to gifted. Now I know with certainty what my life path and purpose is. A lot of it I am on. In fact, I have a medical stigmata in my hand, interestingly. And I had another lady who was a clairvoyant long ago tell me, you're a healer. You've always been a healer, meaning that it's been in several lifetimes I've been going through and traveling and being a healer. And I know you guys are saying, oh my gosh, who is this weird doctor on here? Is she a real doctor or is she a quack? Well, yes, I'm a real doctor. I graduated with honors. I'm originally from New Jersey, born and bred, proud to say. But I want to introduce to you Jayne Sanders, scientific hand analyst. She was an MBA and in 25 years in corporate world before she found her life purpose of doing this scientific hand analysis. Jayne, welcome to Wellness for the Real World.
Oh, thank you, Dr. Veronica. Very happy to be here. I love listening to you rant. You just have these wonderful rants that are deep and profound and entertaining at the same time.
Well, thank you so much. And part of the reason I did radio before, some people may have listened to my podcast that I did for a long time, co-hosting with Russell. But now here I am enjoying the family here. It's wonderful. But tell me, Jayne, tell us just a little bit first about what is scientific hand analysis. And then how did you actually come about it? Because what's interesting about this and me is all of my friends who are in these metaphysical fields, we didn't start out there. We happened upon it. And you're one of those people that you were doing something else and you happened upon this. So tell us first exactly what it is, how it differs from palm reading, and then how you got into it.
Yeah. Well, officially, it's not even metaphysical. It's quite scientific. And the science part is that the lines in your hands mimic the neural pathways in your brain. Neurologists are getting involved with this, geneticists, because there are similarities in families. I even see similarities in groups, because of law of attraction. But the only similarity to palm reading is some of the languaging and, the names of different areas of the hand. The roots are in ancient palmistry, but with hand analysis, because it's scientific, there are no predictions to it. This is not, a hand analyst is not somebody to go to get your future. told. The only prediction I would ever make with a hand analysis, with 100% certainty, by the way, is that if, I don't care how good your life is now, if you take action on what's in your hands, it will get even better. So that's the exciting part. It's not just fascinating, it's actionable. But, excuse me, I got involved in it because I was not happy in my work. I mean, I just kept hitting this wall of unfulfillment and was in my third career, which everyone was successful, by the way. I was by any right successful and a $1 million producer when I was in sales and things like that, blah, 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 but was never really happy. Something was missing, and I knew I was supposed to be doing something else, but I just could not figure it out. I was just stuck, and stuck stinks. So speaking of parents, mine both passed away really close together, and it was just a real wake-up call that life is short. So I just buckled down and went online and started Googling life purpose because I knew that's what was missing, the articulation of that. And long story short, ran across hand analysis because that's the main claim to fame, is that it identifies in your hands, in your wiring, your innate life purpose, how you're meant to make a difference in the world, the gifts you have to help you do that, and the blind spots and challenges keeping you from it. And I was like, whoa, I got to do this. And I got my, hands analyzed. And by the way, I was very skeptical. I'm like, oh man, I don't need a palm reading. That would be fun. And I believe in all that and have used all that, but it never was enough. And some was helpful, but it just wasn't enough. And then I saw the word scientific, and that sort of appeased my, as I refer to it, my anal MBA skepticism. And so I did it, and it changed my life. And of course it didn't say, Jayne, you're supposed to be a scientific hand analyst. It's not a job description, for God's sakes. That would be crazy. But it really got me on the path and on the direction and gave me clarity. And I started taking action on the blind spots and challenges to work on. And my life started changing. And within a few months, it led me there. So I just thought, oh, my God, I have to do this for other people. I have to help people feel the way I do. It's just so inspired about my work and fulfilled. So that's my story, and I'm sticking with it.
Yes. So just for those who are interested in knowing, I'm going to give this several times. I would like you always to be able to find me and my guests. You can find me at drveronica.com. You can find me on social media on my fan page, Dr. Veronica Anderson. And Jayne, her website is Precision Wisdom. Precision Wisdom. Think about that. So first, tell us, there's a way people are looking, if you're not driving, at their hands and saying, what do these lines mean? And so I know you do radio and do a lot of descriptions, so you can give a very accurate description where people can look at their hand and know a few things about it. So explain, should we look at one hand or the other, and something that you can tell us that we can know right now just listening on air?
Okay, yes. First of all, the three, and it doesn't matter which hand you look at. Generally, right hand is what you present in business and out in the world, and generally left hand is inner stuff and family and things closer to you. But both hands, we look at both hands, and there are three major lines, and this is part of the piece that's similar to palmistry. You have a heart line, a head line, and a lifeline. And the heart line is the uppermost horizontal line that starts underneath the pinky finger and goes across. And where it ends tells us your relationship style, how you communicate in relationship, how you express love and affection, how you prefer love and affection to be expressed to you. And this is sort of like the marriage saver, because if you know your style and your spouse's style or your partner's style, it is so helpful so that you don't just assume somebody's being obtuse. They're being true to their design. And, for example, my husband and I have opposite heart styles, and learning that was so helpful in understanding each other and having compassion and, being more patient with each other. But if there are four basic heart types, so this, by the way, is like 1% of things that we look for in the hands, but it's something that people generally, that's the problem. It's not that easy. That's why we get paid the big bucks. It's not clear. But on a lot of your hands who are listening, you will be able to tell If it swoops and stops anywhere underneath the middle finger, then it's called a hermit or a social hermit. And very quickly, that doesn't mean you're supposed to live in a cave. It just means that you keep your emotions close to the vest, generally, until you really trust. But you can be very loyal in relationship. Your alone time is very, very important to you, and you will arrange your life to get the freedom that you need. You don't like feeling possessed. You don't like feeling clung to. You take commitments very seriously because when that time comes, you don't want to feel trapped. You want to make sure that's what you want to do, and you don't want to flake out because hermits have very high personal integrity. Most people, by the way, are a mix of heart styles, but that's the hermit. If it goes all the way up to, and sometimes you have to get in really good light because the lines can get more fine the longer they go, but if it goes all the way up to the index finger, has this long, shallow curve to it, and goes all the way to the index finger or just inside the index finger, it's a big heart. And it means exactly that. You're just love and nurturing and connection, and you really want to help people. That's what's very important to big hearts. And for example, I have both. So I'm a mix of hermit and big heart. Some people have one that goes sort of straight across the hand to at least halfway between the middle finger and the index finger. And if it goes straight across to at least that far or further, it's called a romantic idealist. And a general rule is that in any area in the hand, the longer the line, the more time you spend in whatever that line means. So a romantic idealist is a long line, so that you spend a lot of time thinking about and analyzing your emotions and your feelings, and you love long, deep, meaningful conversation. And you like a true romantic idealist is very considerate in relationship because they're thinking about it a lot, right? So, and they can be romantic but not super mushy. Same with the hermit. Big hearts can be more mushy. And then the last one has a real strong curve to it and curves up to just inside the middle finger. So it has a big curve to it. And another general rule is that the more curve in the line, the more emotion, the more outward emotion. And this curvy one that goes up to the middle finger is called the passionate. So that's somebody who's just very passionate about life, very enthusiastic, can be the life of the party, can be a little dramatic. And passionates want what they want, and they want it now. And on the master path, they'll figure out how to get it and ask for what they want. They model asking for what they want rather than dropping hints and being manipulative or getting angry when they don't get what they want. And that's, by the way, the high road, the master path of all the markings. Every marking has both sides, right?
Yes.
A master path and student path. Anyway, so people can look at their hands and kind of get a general idea, but some will split off and have three on one hand, so it can be complicated.
I want to have Russell jump in here and ask a few questions. Let me just say, Jayne gave us that nice description, and I want to let you know that that's probably 3 or 4% of what you learn when you get a scientific hand analysis. It's just,
yes,
it's
actually.
so little. It's wonderful to know, okay, this is we all know about this quote unquote love line. Everybody knows about the big stuff, but we want to know a little bit more than that. So Russell, jump in and ask Jayne some questions.
Okay, Jayne, it's good to talk to you.
Hi, Russell.
I find this really fascinating. I have a question for you. Do you only look at the palms? Do you look at, say, the fingerprints or the lengths of fingers in relation to each other?
Yes, we look at everything, Russell, everything. And the fingerprints actually are very, very important, and they contain the three most important things you learn in a hand analysis, which is your life purpose, your life lesson, which is the biggest blind spot keeping you from living your purpose consistently and feeling that joy and fulfillment everybody wants. And you also learn your life school, which is it's your operating system, the overarching energy of your life. So the fingerprints are very, very important. And by the way, many people, I think at least half the people that I analyze, have fingerprints in the palm of their hand and they don't even know it. So that's kind of cool. But yes, we look at the fingers, we look at the length of the fingers, the length and width of every section, the shape of your palm, all the lines, your thumbs, everything means something. And what's really cool is I don't have to do this in person. I have clients Yeah, I have clients in Canada and in Europe, and it's I mail out a hand printing kit. They take their prints, mail them to me, and then we have a recorded phone call. So you don't even have to go anywhere.
Yes. So tell us how we might use this to help our life. And so I know how it helped my life. It just was, it gave me the courage to say that I am who I am. I mean, it was Jayne who said, you have these gift markings, and several of the gift markings are intuitive markings. And so this is a really huge part of you, and you have to start doing something with it and talking about it. Now, I've known for a long time that I had these abilities. I didn't know necessarily they were different from the rest of the world. And probably about, 10, 12 years ago, I started saying, everybody doesn't see things the way I do. And I just kind of know these things. And I don't even know how I know these things. But mum is the word. I'm a doctor. I can't say anything. Everything is based on a case-controlled, double-blind, retrospective study. So I better keep my mouth shut. And Jayne made me open my mouth. And the reception is wonderful because a lot of people want to know about these spiritual qualities about them, and which I've been able to help them put it together so they know that they're absolutely not crazy. They know what's going on and how it connects to their body. And that's the type of work I do as a medical intuitive. So Jayne, tell us also, give us some examples how your scientific hand analysis has helped people. And Jayne also does coaching after this, because you get a reading, you get an analysis. I'm going to call it a reading, but it's an analysis. You get all of this information, and you're like, blah, 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 what do I do with this? So Jayne also, seriously, Jayne also has very good coaching after it, if you choose to have coaching after it, so that she can tell you about, here's what this is, and here's what it means when you're on your master path, which means you're going in the right direction and you're really, hitting that grand slam. And here's what your student path looks like. A lot of people who come might be on their student path and they know that they're not doing the way things should go. So tell us how you've helped people with this. Yeah,
thank you. And nobody's ever on the master path 100% of the time. We all go back and forth. So, yeah, really what I do is what I call purpose coaching, and the hand analysis is the entree tool, and so deep and profound. But it has taken people from being broke to, my ideal poster child client was making six figures within 6 months because she found out what her gifts were and her purpose and just stepped into it, started living it. My life changed because of taking action on my student path and, just moving forward and making myself the best I can possibly be. Again, off and on, because nobody's on the master path 100% of the time. I've had people change careers because they weren't happy in their work. And one thing that's easy for me to do is connect the dots and identify for people their ideal work. Now, they then have to take action to get into it. But, they're just like I was. I was not in my ideal work, and I kept getting bored and unfulfilled. It has helped with relationships because the people understand each other better. It empowers people, gives them confidence and permission to really step into their authenticity and live it. They become better leaders, better managers, more clarity on what they want to do in their life, and it helps them leave the legacy that they're meant to leave. People want to make a difference. They want meaning in their lives. And by learning their innate purpose and getting guidance on how to step into that and live it, it is deeply life-changing and profound.
I absolutely agree. Now, we are a couple minutes from wrapping up, so I just want to, again, let the audience know, if you would like to reach Jayne, precisionwisdom.com. Her name, Jayne, Jayne Sanders. I want to make sure you spell it right, because I know everybody goes to Google. But also, if you send a note to me, drveronica.com, any of my guests, I know how to get to them, obviously, very easily and quickly. That's how I got him on my show. And Jayne, just a bit, we have 2 minutes left. A word about gift markings.
Gift markings are indications of extra potential talent in different areas. And they are very, very important because they're rare. At most, 20% of the entire world has just one. So that means 80% of people don't. Now, that said, there are people with no gift markings who are making an amazing difference in the world, and people who have 15 who suck, because they're not using their gifts and they're stuck in their student path. But they're really important, and they have a student path too. So if you're not using them, you get a kick in the butt. Basically, God, spirit, source, whatever your word is saying, hey, Dr. Veronica, you got these gifts, and you're not using them. So, I'm going to get your attention here with a wake-up call of some kind, which is usually some sort of life complication. So you'll start using those gifts.
Yes. And I got to tell you that part of my path, if people don't know, back in 2013, I tripped and fell and had a major knee injury. This is right after, a few months after I had met Jayne. I had a major knee injury, 7-hour surgery. It stopped me in my path. And I had a spiritual advisor at that point in time who said to me, he said, you're very intuitive and you're not using your gifts, and this is why you hurt your knee.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. Now, I will say most people who are interested in hand analysis do have, at least a gift marking or two. It's just, law of attraction. And most of my clients, the vast majority have, at least a couple. But I got to tell you, finding out what they are changes everything. Finding out your purpose. I mean, Dr. Veronica, I think I've told you this before. People cry. They feel so seen and understood like never before.
Absolutely. Jayne, I got to stop us right here. Jayne at precisionwisdom.com. I'm Dr. Veronica. Russell is on as my co-host. This is Wellness for the Real World.
Thank you for listening to the Wellness Revolution podcast. If you want to hear more on how to bring wellness into your life, visit drveronica.com. See you all next week. Take care.